Please, please. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Please try to settle down as we try to start the press briefing. Good afternoon once again, and then welcome to this press briefing here in Baku, Azerbaijan, of course, during this COP29. As you know, we are here to discuss on key issues here for the COP29, of which that are of paramount importance to us as Africa and also the vulnerable regions. So for the press briefing today, the mode of work is firstly, we're going to welcome interventions from ministers that are here with us, and then we just open the floor for a quick Q&A. At least you can ask questions, and then also the ministers can reflect on that. So with that, today we have the Honorable Minister, Jiwo Emmanuel Abdullahi, who is the Minister of Environment and Climate Change in our midst. He's there in the middle. And also we have the Honorable Minister, Henry John, who is the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources from the Gambia at the far right. And finally, we have His Excellency Ana Paula Chantere Luna de Carvalho, the Minister of Environment of the Republic of Angola. Welcome, His Excellency, to this press briefing. So quickly, I'll turn to the Honorable Minister of Environment and Climate Change from Sierra Leone to make a quick 3 minutes interventions on the state of play for the COP29. Honorable Minister, His Excellency Jiwo Emmanuel Abdullahi, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, moderator. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to start by just laying out what the science tells us. According to the latest IPCC report, global greenhouse gases have continued to increase with unequal historical and ongoing contributions arising from unsustainable energy use, land use change lifestyles, patterns of consumption, and production across regions are different. Basically, historically, there are countries that have polluted our atmosphere, pumped greenhouse gases. The planet can only take so much. And what we are experiencing here is the result of a handful of countries that have been responsible for this. So responsibility here is very important. Now, how does that relate to us in Africa? According to the WMO's State of Climate report, climate-related hazards, including droughts, floods, cyclones, heat waves, exacerbate food insecurity, water scarcity, and displacement, and that causes African countries to lose between 2% and 5% of their GDP annually, with many countries diverting up to 9% of their budgets into unplanned expenditures. So while we're not responsible for the problem, it is costing us on an annual basis. And it's costing our economies a lot. The cost of adaptation in sub-Saharan Africa is estimated between $30 and $50 billion a year. According to the 2024 UNFCCC report of the Standing Committee on Finance, the estimated cost of implementing NDCs for just 98 developing countries is between $5 and $7 trillion. The reason I've set the stage is so that you can understand some context for the negotiations that are ongoing over the next few days. So when you hear numbers that we are asking for, there is some context. These are not just numbers that are plucked out of thin air. It's clear global warming is real for our countries and our economies. It's clear who's responsible for this problem. And it's also, the science is pretty clear how much it's going to cost. And it's important that the press reports these numbers. What we're asking for as a group, what we've asked is an allocation of about $1.3 trillion annually, so that countries like ours, our economies will stop bleeding dry from the hazards related to climate change. We can start engaging in adaptation programs that help our people and our communities adapt to the realities of climate change. What we're talking about here are people's lives and people's livelihoods. And these numbers are not just abstract, they affect our people on a daily basis. The floods, the droughts affect the lives of our people. Our people are paying for this climate crisis already with their lives and their livelihoods. We are here in good faith to help to resolve this problem. We're asking our partners and colleagues and friends from the different blocs to also approach the negotiations in good faith, because we think collectively we can work together to address this problem. But in doing so, the lives and the livelihoods of our people back home are of primary importance to us. So I'll hand over now to my colleague, Minister from the Republic of Gambia, to say a few words, and then we'll have my other colleagues also make some contributions.
Thank you so much. I think we are all here at COP29, keenly listening for a decisive decision on climate finance. We do not have much time to ourselves, and the scientists have communicated very clearly. Unless we are not genuine or we want to ignore the pathway to positive livelihood for all inclusive. As we are seeing now, if we do not leave COP29 with a clear decision on climate financing, I will tell you what the rest of us are thinking, that the developed countries are not interested in the development of the rest of the mankind. Because we cannot live under a conditions that each and every day we wake up to a crisis that will wipe out a whole community or even a whole country, to a crime that we never committed to. I think we are here to negotiate, but we are also here to receive genuine feedbacks and compromises. We have to have a landing ground that will communicate to the rest of the generation that we are here and we mean business and we are genuine to each other. We have seen the OECD report that says that in 2022, the target of 100 billion was achieved a little above, even though the Oxfam report has indicated otherwise, that it has not been achieved a little below. But notwithstanding, even with that, how many of these went into loans? More than 60% of these went into loans. To who? To African countries, to the least developed countries, who contributed the least to the crisis, but are bearing the brunt of the crisis. Is that why we're here? We have to communicate loudly and clearly. And it cannot be only in pledges, but also in a practical decision that will guide our actions for tomorrow. Our position as African countries is to say that the 100 billion modes of implementation has not given us the results that we desire. We have to change ways of doing it. That's what we call the business as usual is not working. So we need to change to business usual. That will give us the result that we desire towards the Paris Agreement 1.5 temperature reduction targets. We are calling for ambitious NDCs, but our action also needs to be ambitious. That is what we also have to do. We have to respond to the global call. But paying attention that we have different capabilities and different responsibilities towards this agenda. But I'm saying that we cannot allow to see humanity die gradually. In 2022, we have seen more than 60% of the climate-related death happens in least developed countries to a problem that they committed the least. We are saying that when it comes to investment, it cannot be included into the mode of implementation when it comes to the public financing. That will be very clear. That is what the NCQG is asking, the new qualitative quantifiable goal is asking. Let's change ways of doing things. Let's correct the mistake that we came across when we are doing the $100 billion targets. That is why we are here, to change ways of what has failed us, but to come up with new strategies, the new quantum, the new contributor base, and also the implementation plans should be very clear, transparent, trackable, and actionable. That's what we are asking for. This is not much to a crime that we have not committed. This is not much. All what we are asking is the willingness. And I don't want to take us back to history, but we all agree that the demand that has been put on the table in terms of the quantum is realistic and it is attainable if the will is there. We have seen where monies have been spent because the will was there in a quantum that was not even planned, but it was realized. So if climate change is a concern to all of us together, both the developing and the developed countries, I am optimistic and I am sure that everybody is hearing us. We will achieve our objective when it comes to climate finance, and what the African countries are asking is the least that we can get. And I think we will all listen to and not make that humanity will fail because of our actions today. Time is not on our side. We are already boiling, and we have to do concrete actions. This COP is a decisive moment. We have no time to lose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ministers, indeed, we need to change the business as usual, and that must be reflected in the various decisions here in Banku. With this, I just want to welcome His Excellency Honorable Mike Elton Fodza, the Minister of Green Economy and Environment from Zambia. And also we have in our midst here representative from Kenya who happens to be the chair of the African Group of Negotiator, Ali Mohammed. With this, I want to quickly turn to our Honorable Minister from Angola for her intervention. You have the floor, please.
Okay, thank you. I just would like to hear the voice for our continent and to call you all as ambassadors, because we all know the reality, we know where we have been through. Even though we need to repeat ourselves more and more to be heard, but we do believe that the world is listening to us, otherwise we couldn't come discussing again and again. What we need to do now is to concentrate on how are we going to achieve those goals, recognizing the African potential, that humanity also has its motherland in Africa. Wherever we do, it's been extracted from the continent, it's been exporting. We also need to recall that many of our private sector industries are also multinationals, and that we would like to put on the buyers so that the business as usual also needs to be changed. We would like also to reflect on the future generations as part of humanity that we do today. If we do indeed need to leave no one behind, let us all agree that it's time to pay and it's time to continue. Let us not further the discussions. Let us not have bilateral or any more other meetings apart from here, as long as we are set down and we also have means of implementation that are accountable and also desires that differentiate situations from the continent. So this is all we would like to submit, but we'd like to bear in mind that whatever bilateral you do, you are becoming an ambassador of Africa. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here to listen to us on our feedbacks. We thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, quickly to our Minister from Zambia. Honorable, please.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to also recognize the other speakers on the panel, as well as members of the press, whom we really appreciate, because in journalism, they say that any event which is not covered by the media it means that event has not taken place. So we really appreciate the presence of the media here. Chair, like others have said, the least developed countries are getting a fair share of the effects of climate change. This COP29 is coming at a time when the entire SADC region has been hit by the worst drought, very severe drought, which has affected our food security, water, and energy, to the extent that out of our 15 countries in that region, the Southern African region, we only had 3 countries which had a bit of a surplus in terms of energy, because most of us depend on hydropower. You can imagine the effect this has had on our economies. More than 13 countries having a deficit of energy. Speaking about Zambia, more than 50% of our projected harvest has gone to waste because of the severe drought of the 2023. So, like others have said, we expect that COP29 will not come to a close without clear actions around finance, particularly that this is the finance COP. We expect that we should speak clearly beyond just announcements and commitments. I think what Africa now wants, what our countries are expecting, is that those commitments must now be turned into actions, and we want to see finances that will go towards saving our countries, that will go towards the actual fight against climate change, so that we don't continue using our limited resources from developing our countries to fighting climate change, an issue or a problem that has been caused, like others have said, from elsewhere. So we are all partners, and we can't have those that have least contribution or contributed to the problem being the one depleting their resources in the fight against the problem that they least caused. So we demand that many announcements and commitments that have been made in the past must now be turned into actions, so that we can have a real fight towards pushing back the effects of climate change. So I want to concur with most of my colleagues who have said that we don't expect any more less than seeing the actions around actions that will go towards financing the mitigation measures that many of us are ready to put in place. But what is lacking is the finances which have been promised but not being committed or released towards these programs. So, Chair, I thank you for this opportunity to allow me to just add a voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mike Elton Forza, the Minister of Green Economy and Environment. So at this point, we just want to open the floor quickly to some quick questions and answers. Maybe we might take 3 or 4, and then we can come to the online question that we already received. Please, over to you. Can you please give the mic to him?
Thank you very much. My name is Leone Lidigu from Nation Media Group. I have a major concern. I've observed that, I'm glad first that our panel is full and I can see a minister sitting also on the other side. But this does not happen when we are having key ministerial meetings. I would love to know from our ministers why some of you are missing very important meetings. At the time the meetings are happening, I've spotted some of you going shopping. And when we are having a very crucial discussion that will determine the future of our lives as a continent. Secondly, you've spoken on energy. And I've seen experts propose about the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. So far, no African country is a signatory to the treaty. I would love to understand why. Of course, I know for Kenya, our minister told me that we are open to the discussions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. The Honorable Minister, we only respond to the questions that has to do with energy. Next one, please.
Hi, thanks. This is Sibi from the AP. My question is to the Minister from Gambia. Ma'am, are you angry and or disappointed about how negotiations are going and the fact that developed countries have not placed any quantum on the table yet? Thank you.
Thank you. We can take one more and then we'll go to the floor. Yeah, over to you, please.
Hi, I'm Kundan Pandey from India. I write from Monga Bay, India. I have a question about the method of climate finance flowing, because there is a research that says that LDCs have been a debt trap because of previous access to climate finance that was mostly in a market mechanism. So here there is a debate about the grant versus market mechanism. What do you want and how do you see the negotiation to unfold?
Okay, thank you very much. The ministers will respond to the 3 questions, and then we can give the floor also to our minister from Nigeria that is here with us, His Excellency Mr. Balarabi Abbas Lawal, to also make a quick remarks. Over to you, honorable ministers, for the reflections on the questions. The first has to do with energy, and another was directed to the Gambia regarding the state of play of negotiations, I think, and also another has to do with the climate finance method. Over to you, please.
So I'll address a couple of these questions, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues. The question about presence in meetings, I can assure you that we are present in the meetings here, every single one. And there's some of us here who plan on being here till the end of this COP. We will not be having a situation where decisions are made behind our backs that affect the lives and livelihoods of our people. When it comes to the financing, keep in mind, these developed economies have been built on the backs of polluting the climate. In essence, what has been happening is our people have been subsidizing providing environment subsidies to these developed countries for centuries. And these subsidies have come at a cost of our infrastructure, at the cost of lives of our people, and the cost of livelihoods of our people. So we think a lot of this should come in the form of public finance. We shouldn't be entering into conversations about private funding of adaptation, because if private funding was there for adaptation, we wouldn't need to come to COPs. The reason we're here is because there's a clear market failure to provide the funding for adaptation. So that should come from public finance. I will hand over to my colleagues to respond to the energy question, and also my colleague from Gambia to respond.
Gambia, quickly, and then, yeah.
Thank you. I assure you that we have been around and will continue to be around. Yes, the number is few, knowing fully well that it's expensive to foot the bill to attend COPs. So again, looking at to national economy, we have to prioritize. Like in the case of the Gambia, we usually have about 3 to 4 ministers that attend, but this time around, I am the only one from the cabinet office that attends, all because of the cost implications. That's why we are saying that we cannot allow to spend our national budget on mitigating or on adaptation or solving climate change problems. On the whether we are disappointed or angry, I am just speaking like a dying man whose sound is very sharp and loud, but I am not angry because we are here to discuss and agree. And I want to believe that this COP is not where we have to discuss and disagree to agree. We have to negotiate to agree. And then we are just speaking with our loud tune as if we are at the dying point. And that is where we are as these developed countries towards the climate crisis. And we appreciate what our technicians are doing. Hopes are very high. We are optimistic. We are hopeful to see results. But we just have to communicate that that is our hope. And that is what we look forward to. But nothing near to angry. We cannot live here angry. We do not come angry, and we are not going to live angry. We are all happy, and then we leave destination to our actions. Why we are here to make our points very clear. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Any other further reflections or? Okay, we're good, okay.
Chair, I think on energy, if I got him right, he was connecting it to the meetings that are taking place around the fossil fuels. Just to confirm that for Zambia, we are available for all these meetings. We are open to discussing until we get to the prescribed decisions and solutions. Thank you.
Okay, so finally, I just want to turn to the Honorable Minister from Nigeria, at least to make a quick reflection, and then we'll close.
All right, thank you very much, moderator, and I want to apologize for coming late because I was delivering our national statement, so that's why I had to rush here. I didn't even think I was going to make it. I think what we are expecting from this COP is that for the first time, we are trying to address the issue of finance. And I'm sure most of us from that part of the world, Africa, and I think I want to add the small states and other states that are coastal, we are facing a lot of problems, which I think is very visible to all. We have had issues of flood in Nigeria, for example, which was very devastating, and erosion, which is also another area that we are very much afflicted with. And we are also facing a very big issue in the area of forest. Our forest is dwindling because in Nigeria, we have one of the worst forest cover in the world. The minimum is supposed to be 25%, but in Nigeria, it's about less than 3%. And that also is aligned with the issue of desert encroachment from the north and coastal rising sea levels at the south. So we find that we have a lot of climatic issues that I think we need to come here and find out how we can address this. And we all know that countries like Nigeria are the victims. They are the victims of the climate issues that we are confronting. We are the ones that are most vulnerable, and we are the ones that do the less emission. So most of the emission is coming from other direction, but we are the ones that are suffering the consequences of that emission. So the issue of climate finance is very important, and we need to address it. For a long time, we've been talking about it. In Dubai, it was very categorical that we are going to start the issue of loss and damage. The fund is, they mentioned huge amount of the funds, but up to this moment, we are still concerned that it's becoming like a mirage. The more you talk about it, the more it disappears. So there's the need for us to at least be more concrete in this COP and address this issue. And I want to also raise this, and I'm not sure whether the Chadians and the community have raised it. We are facing a very serious global crisis with the disappearance of Lake Chad. Whenever I have opportunity, I try to raise it. Lake Chad, one of the 10 largest lakes in the world, is disappearing. And it is disappearing because of climate change. And so we need to begin to look at it, not Nigeria, not Chad, Niger, or Cameroon. It is a global problem that is going to happen. And you found that linked to the issue of Lake Chad, you found that we must also begin to link climate change to insecurity. Because the receding Lake Chad, which is now about 9% of its former volume, is the one that is causing a lot of insecurity around that area. You have insecurity in Chad, insecurity in Cameroon, insecurity in Nigeria and Niger. It's because people are losing their livelihood, people are losing their means of living around that area. That's why we need to. So I think the international committee must look and address the consequences that will follow if Lake Chad disappears. And I think the time is now for us to address this thing. So we are very much keen in trying to look for sources. Like I was just heard that this issue of private funding is not going to work. Yesterday I had a discussion with the EU where they mentioned this. I said we must have the funding by the developed countries to address some of these critical issues that are affecting African countries, the small island states, and other small states like Gambia and the rest. And also in the African context, we have agreed that we are going to push this very strongly in this COP. And I believe that this COP will be different from other COPs, because if we don't do that, COPs will turn out to be just a talking shop. We'll just come here, we talk. After 1 year, we'll come back again and talk, and that will continue. So we must turn this COP into something that is going to benefit all of us. The finance because this is the first COP that essentially talking about finance. So let's see that the finance thing is done. Thank you very much, moderator.
Yes, thank you very much, honorable ministers. Of course, several selling points, several take-homes. So we've come now to the end of this press briefing. Thank you, everyone. For those of you who've not received your questions, we can discuss that also in bilaterals. Thank you very much. This press conference has come to a close. Thank you.